This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
And welcome. You're here live with Dr. Jeff Werber, your host for the next 30 minutes here on Pet Life Radio's Ask the Vets with Dr. Jeff. Here for you, here for your pets. Also joining me, Instagram Live. Just the best way to, a question already. I love it. Katie Boo, thank you so much. Hopefully we're going to have a lot more questions coming in, but I always have something to talk about. I'm never at a loss of something to talk about. Anyway, so if you want to get a hold of me, very easy. 877-385-8882. Once again, 877-385-8882. Better yet, you can join us here live on Pet Life Radio on the video with your pet. Just go to petliferadio.com. You can have your pet with you. Log on to shows, go on to shows, Ask the Vets with Dr. Jeff. There's a link left for you there by our producer, Mark, and you can actually come on and join Ask Away. Here on Instagram Live, easier. Just be here. You're here already. And if you have your pets with you, even now, one thing I can't do with Instagram is if I share the screen, it kind of ruins things a little bit. So we are not going to do that. But you can always ask. You can get a hold of me anytime. You know that already. Just call me, send me a message, instant message on Instagram. You can reach me, Dr. Jeff at petliferadio.com. You can reach me, Dr. Jeff at drjeff.com. I always hear people say, well, when they found me after I left my old practice, after I sold it, and people say, I couldn't find you. I couldn't find me. I'm hard not to find. So anyway, here I am. So let's get right into it with some questions here on Pet Life Radio. Ask away. If you can ask, we're literally live right now, and Mark will send them to me. In the meantime, I have one from New York Yankee. Good morning. Recommended amount of inches for a groomer to cut nails safely for small, medium, large dog, a Jack Russell Terrier. Here's the problem with nails. There is something called the quick. The quick has the nerve in the blood supply. And for light nails, it's easy because you can kind of see through it. The pink area, you want to avoid the pink area. That's where it is. Black nails are a little more difficult. So what you do is, if you're lucky, you always look for at least one pink nail in the group and kind of see how much you could cut. And if you're in question, you always cut a little less. Better to cut less and do it more often than cut more and make them bleed. Because once you hit that nerve and that blood supply, well, the blood supply is your problem. The nerve is the dog's problem. And they're not going to like you going near the nails again. So the idea is to just make it fun. I always tell people that when it comes to nails, when they're little, as soon as you get them, start messing with their toenails. Don't cut them. Just mess with them. Touch them. Say, oh my God, you're so good. You're such a good boy. Such a good girl. And give a little treat. So that way they get used to every time you go near their nails, they're going to get a treat. How life is grand. That's fantastic. Now, what you do is start trimming just a little bit. And you just go a little bit more and a little bit more until you know how much you're going to have to trim. What is the norm for your dog? Now, sometimes some dogs, because of going too long without having nails trimmed, they would get what they call it's an extension of the quick. And now you're going to have them cut probably professionally, maybe even with a little sedation. And you want it, what we call it, cutting the nails back, meaning we're going to reposition that quick farther back. So it's a little bit easier for you to cut in the future. We see this a lot with Dobermans, for example. They extend so quickly. And of course, the Dobie's nails are usually black. And sometimes it's a difficult disaster. So the norm is whatever the quick is, the farther away you stay from it, the less pain, no pain really, they're going to have, and you can make it actually a positive experience for the dog. If you see that when you're cutting and you don't think you're cutting that much and it still bleeds, then you want to take them in and have the nails clipped back. We use some sort of agent. It's called a styptic powder or electric cautery, something that will cauterize, stop the bleeding, and then you can actually start all over again. So, yes. So when the groomer has cut too much a couple of times, yes, it's going to bleed. And that's what happens. So sometimes, again, we need to train the nails back, cut them back, and almost start from scratch, but have a much shorter quick. Let's see. I passed another good question here. Going back to the beginning. Thank you very much. Best way to social the puppy before vaccinations are completed. That's a great question. So, I think some veterinarians are like too cautious. Ideal socialization, what this means is when you're getting your dog to be okay with other dogs, and of course with people, usually there's no shortage of people around a house when you have a new puppy, but there has to be, unless you have already coming into a house with a number of dogs. Every time I introduce a dog into my home with already 5 dogs and 5 cats, that is instant socialization. That happens right away. But ideal socialization between 8 and 18 weeks of age during development. Now, if you are overly cautious and you want to wait until the vaccine series is completed, which is 16 weeks of age, that gives you only 2 weeks to socialize. That's not good enough. So here's what I recommend to my patients, my clients, and you can, obviously wherever you want to be in between. Think of 8 to 18 weeks. 8 weeks, you're starting vaccines ideally. So it's too early. So what I do is early on, between the first and second set of shots, only if they're people that you know very well, like yourselves, or a family member that is insane and crazy about their pet as you are with your new pet, your new puppy, and they can actually get together. That's okay. But I don't want your new puppy yet outside anywhere but your backyard. Now, 12 week comes along, you get the second shot. About 4 to 5 days after that, I recommend it's okay, with caution, walking your dog like on the street, but on your block. I don't want them going in the whole neighborhood, certainly no place public. So, and then of course, watch for poop. And, if the dog starts sniffing or you see someone didn't clean up after the dog, then you want to kind of have them away. But again, you want to get together now, have like a friend's visit, kind of thing. That's important, just to socialize the pup. Again, dogs that have fun, and just go to their house and visit with your pup. They can come to you and to visit with your pup at your home. But the goal is socializing, and always make it a fun, positive experience. If you ever know the dog, a friend that's got an aggressive dog, do not bring that dog near your dog, because you don't want to blow it as far as your dog trusting other dogs. It's got to be another dog that has good personality, very friendly, wants to play. Then that's great. That's called like a play date. Then after the final shot, 16 weeks, again, 4 to 5 days later, you got to give it a chance for the vaccine to work. Then you can go to public places. And, for here in LA, the 3rd Street Promenade, the Grove, Beverly Drive, Rodeo Drive, take your dog out and about and kind of let it mingle if you see other dogs, and always make it fun. And always ask, of course, if a dog is approaching, ask, is your dog friendly? Sometimes, even though they say yes, it may not be friendly, but you don't know that until you do it. But again, the whole idea is to make the experience a fun, enjoyable experience for your dog. All right. 13-year-old keeps licking like crazy, her paws and stomach. Sonia. So 13-year-old poodle, this is what's interesting. Usually when a dog goes after their paws a lot, I always think of potential food allergy. They also rub their faces, they scratch with their ears. But a 13-year-old, one would think, unless you recently changed food to something completely different than they've ever had before, you don't expect for the first time ever a dog 13 to be all of a sudden going after a paw. So I would also look at the feet, make sure they're clean. Maybe it doesn't happen more after a walk. Now our gardeners are putting fertilizer down. So if they're in the neighborhood, they may be picking up some kind of grass and things like that. So it's a possibility that it's more than just potential food allergy, but I would certainly always consider food allergy as a potential problem. So look at what the dog is eating. Is there anything differently that the dog is being fed that she may not have had before? Even something like a treat or something around the house. Again, the big antigens that we usually see: chicken, beef, corn, and wheat. But a dog can be allergic to anything. So now the stomach, this is what leads me to believe it might be something external. Stomach is usually not an area where dogs with food allergy will go after, but it is an area where they will get from pollens. And here we are, we're spring, March 21st, 3 days ago, official spring started. So we are going to see pollens. And one of the things with atopy called atopic dermatitis is where they actually start to scratch. And in the groin area, on the belly, is one area that we typically see dogs with allergies. So that's a possibility as well. If it persists, you want to see your doc. But also one thing, if the scratching is leading to irritation in the skin and maybe scabs and sores, then we worry about secondary infection as well, which also is itchy. So that's why when animals are being treated for allergy, if they have secondary infection, you need to treat that as well, or else they're going to continue to scratch and you're going to think, oh God, that allergy medicine's not working. No, it is working fine, but you have to also take care of the secondary skin infection. So that's why typically we're treating these dogs with antibiotics as well as either the Apoquil or the Cytopoint, Caddy, whatever. So anyway, keep that in mind. All right. Heartworm meds still need for a 15-year-old dog who doesn't go outside the house. Well, mosquitoes can be inside your house. It depends also where you live. If you're in a heartworm endemic area like the South or the Northeast spring and summer, then 100% I would still recommend it, because many those places, you're going to see mosquito in your house. Open door. Screens only do so much. When the door is open or you open the window all the way without a screen, it's possible to still get a mosquito in the house. Now, as far as places like LA, where we are just now seeing some mosquitoes that have adapted to our climate, and we are starting to see them, and they are year round, I would base it on how many mosquitoes are you seeing. Now, if he doesn't go outside the house at all, if the dog is trained to take care of business inside the house on a wee-wee pad, then you can argue that, and you don't see mosquitoes, you're in a high rise and there's really no access to outdoors, because when you open your door, you're in a hallway, you're not outside, then you probably can get away without prevention. I would just do a heartworm test first just to make sure all is good. And if so, you probably are going to be okay. I'm just going through some of my comments, a lot of waving. How can you see if your dog's trachea is an issue? X-ray, ultrasound, what can you give them? So there are a number of problems we see with trachea, anything ranging from a tracheitis, which is usually an infectious tracheobronchitis, aka kennel cough. I don't like to use that term anymore because, with our lifestyles, dogs are being taken outside all the time. For example, I call it live in LA cough, go to the dog park cough, go to the Grove cough, go to the 3rd Street Promenade cough, go to the vet cough, go to the groomer cough. I mean, it's everywhere. So don't think, well, I hear people say, well, I don't board my dog. Oh, I don't board my, but he goes to the dog park 3 times a week. I mean, you got to, be aware that it can be everywhere. Now, there's also small breeds, get a few other things. There's something called a redundant dorsal tracheal membrane. There's also tracheal stenosis. There's also tracheal collapse. So there are many, many things that can happen to the dog's tracheas, which give them that cough. It sounds like they're trying to cough up a hairball, or they got something stuck in their throat. That is the classic. But otherwise, they're fine. And it's usually worse early morning, late night, and excitement. So if your dog is that, it's one of those tracheal issues. So X-ray, I think better than ultrasound. When it comes to that. With a redundant dorsal tracheal membrane, you can see on X-ray. Now, with tracheal stenosis, you can see, but tracheal collapse is different because it's not always there. It happens sometimes, and sometimes when it starts collapsing and they cough harder, you have to catch it right when it's happening. So you can take an X-ray at 10 o'clock a.m. and 10:07, you can repeat the X-ray and you'll see the collapse. So it's more difficult to find. Scoping. But you mostly have to go to an internist or someone who has a scope. That could give you a lot more information because then you can see with each breath what is going on with that trachea. So as far as giving them, oh boy, it's a tough one. I would just at least do a cough suppressant. If you suspect a tracheobronchitis, an antibiotic because it's infection. If it's viral, like the new influenza, not much you can do other than tincture of thyme. But if it's a bacterial like Bordetella, which is AKA kennel cough, and all those other names I just mentioned, then doxycycline is good. Clavamox is good. I used to use the Clavamox, which is the amoxiclav, and we're seeing more and more of the young docs are now using Doxy. I've switched over to Doxy as my prime, and then maybe if it didn't work well, then we'll go to the Clavamox after that. But the cough suppressants are great. Now, if it's dry, hacky, non-productive, the best cough suppressant I recommend for my clients and my patients is Hycodan or Tussigon. Very effective. It's a narcotic. It zonks them out a little bit, but it's very effective as an antitussive. Now, if you have a moist cough, then you want to use something like guaifenesin or guaifenesin, however you want to pronounce it. And that is the active ingredient in most over-the-counter cough medicines. If you're going to use something over-the-counter, I like the DMs, whether it's cough syrup DM, Robitussin DM, Vicks Formula 44D for that's dextromethorphan. That is a non-narcotic, mild cough suppressant. So with these guys, you want to have an expectorant. That's the guaifenesin that will help loosen up the phlegm, cough things up. But at night and stuff, you kind of want to maybe get some sleep. Don't want to use a strong suppressant like Hycodan or Tussigon if the cough is productive. Productive means it's moist, coughing up phlegm, mucus. You don't want to suppress that cough. That's a good cough. That's the cough that's getting rid of a lot of that crud in the respiratory tree. So for that, I like using something a little more mild like the dextromethorphan. Hope that answered your question. Heartworm medicine for dogs. Okay, we talked about that. FaceTime with your dogs while you're away on a trip, or is that confusing? That's a really good question. I think it's confusing. It'd be interesting. That's a good study. Is someone should do that with dogs that have separation anxiety and see if the separation anxiety worsens after you do a FaceTime call with your dogs. I do not have an answer for that one, but it would be really, as I said, that would be a real cool study. So something to think about. All right, while you're thinking about that study, and also when you have, obviously, if you're FaceTiming, someone is there taking care of your dogs. So there is a sitter or a friend that you can actually converse with. Why don't you find out how the dogs behave after the call? And now, interesting, Eloise just comes back, Vicky, great dog trainer. And says, I use some training via camera, so I think it's great. So there you go. So maybe the dogs do respond pretty well. They certainly respond to your voice, 100%. And when they see you, I tell the story. Well, let's do our quick break. We come back, I'll tell a story that's happened to me a number of times over the years. So I know they respond to your voice. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
How many of you have pets? My hand's raised. Now think about how lucky you are to have such a sweet little pet in your life, and that pet is lucky to have you too. But unfortunately, there are countless pets out there that don't have a home to call their own. However, Bob's from Skechers is trying to change that. So we developed Bob's for dogs and cats to help pets in need. With every purchase of adorable Bob's footwear or fun, stylish apparel, or even the cutest Bob's pet accessories, Skechers makes a donation to Petco Love to help save shelter pets. And with your help, we've already saved the lives of over 1 million pets and raised over $7 million. So while you're getting style and comfort with features like Skechers' famous memory foam cushioning, you're also helping to save an adorable pet in need and helping another lucky owner be connected with a future best friend and companion, because happiness is having a loving pet by your side. Find Bob's at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, select Petco locations, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets
On Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Okay, and we're back live here with Dr. Jeff Werber here on Pet Life Radio's Ask the Vets with Dr. Jeff. And during the break, we got a good question came in. And, we talked about it before about using cameras, dogs, how are they going to respond if they see you on a FaceTime when you're out of town? All right. Are they going to be super sad when you turn off what's going on? So, and I mentioned that how they recognize your voice. You don't even need the camera. But so I've heard this many times years ago. I was doing a national show. I was on every week on ABC's home show. And I would do a lot of news. I still do, Inside Edition. I do KTLA and KCBS. But anyway, so I would hear this from clients a lot. And that is they're in the kitchen with their dog. And the TV's on in the den. And all of a sudden the dog gets up and runs into the den as if almost hearing a doorbell, right? The way he ran into the den, and the owner would go, that's weird. And she goes into the den to see what was she running in the den for? And my segment was on TV and he heard my voice. I've heard that since many, many a time. So it's just crazy. They're very smart. Their sense of hearing, their sense of smell we know about, but their hearing is pretty darn good too. All right. Is there a home remedy when my dog is limping on his front leg after he's been exercising? Well, yes, rest is one thing. But the thing is that it's very important to keep them somewhat quiet. Now, usually if that's happening, there's something going on. It could be arthritis, and it's just the exercise is exacerbating the arthritis. That's a very strong possibility. So what I would do is talk to your veterinarian. If this is happening regularly, the dog should be on some glucosamine or chondroitin anyway. Maybe think about some laser therapy. But I would also maybe have some of the non-steroidal anti-inflammatories available, using only not all the time, but as an as-needed basis if your dog is really limping. But most importantly, I think there should be some diagnostics done first, just to see, is there an underlying problem that could be fixed or could be worked with, or maybe, as I said, acupuncture, laser. There's so many things that could be done if it's a recurring soft tissue injury. Sometimes dogs that might have a little elbow dysplasia or hip dysplasia or a partially torn cruciate ligament are worse after the exercise, and that might be going on. So once you get a diagnosis, it's really, a lot of times with these cases, it's important to know what it isn't. Just as important to know what it is. So if you know there's nothing really bad, the knee's good, the hip's good, everything's good, then most likely it just could be a little muscle soreness, and then a little rest, warmth, heat after like a hot compress, and if it's the same leg all the time, or if it's all legs, then it's definitely soft tissue. If it's the same leg all the time and only one leg, I would really delve a little deeper into what's going on with that leg. Best way to treat yeast problems in dog paws. So pododermatitis is a really common problem. We see it a lot. See, unfortunately, when it comes to, there are two tissues of the body that have sweat glands. These two tissues look the same as each other, but unlike every other part of the body. Any guesses? What two things look alike, but parts of a dog, but it's the only areas of the whole body that look the way these do. And these are the only two areas that actually sweat with eccrine sweat glands, which means it's moist. So I'll give you a hint. One's the nose, clearly, right? Nose is often very moist. Okay. So what part of the body looks like? The pads. So pads and nose tissue are the only tissues on a dog that sweat. So therefore, that's why we're seeing sometimes a lot of pododermatitis, because it's dark. There's often hair in there. It gets moist when they sweat. And that's a perfect environment for yeast. We call it pododermatitis can be bacterial or yeast. So oftentimes we treat with antibiotics, but we're not doing anything for the yeast. So here's what I like. First of all, any kind of ketoconazole rinse. You get like an ear flush rinse, which usually has ketoconazole in it or fluconazole, and actually rinse the feet off and dry them well. One of my favorite things is called Neo-Predef powder. You got to get it through your vet or online. Neo Predef, Predef powder. It's amazing. It's drying agent. It's anti-inflammatory, anti-itch. It's got antibacterial, antifungal. It's everything in one. But because it's a powder and it's a drying agent, it keeps the feet a lot drier. And in cases that are really severe or it's extending to the toenail, I'll use oral medication as well. Fluconazole, itraconazole, ketoconazole, whatever. There are a number of really good products, but that you have to talk to your veterinarian. Now, when it comes to using medications, antifungal medications for dogs, just like people, it's a long haul. You got to go minimum a month. I was treating my son's Frenchie with yeast dermatitis, also common in Frenchies. And with 2 full months of the fluconazole, finally into the 3rd month, that's when he started to respond. And I know if you know anybody with toenail funguses, et cetera, and they put them on Lamisil, that also, you're looking at of several months of treatment. So it just takes a little long. All right. Okay. Do I agree with shaving dogs? Good question. Okay. Shaving dogs down. Now we're approaching spring. Today's a beautiful day here in LA. Obviously, we know it's going to start getting warmer and all that snow over the mountains are going to melt. Be able to take care of some of our drought issues. But I am not a fan of shaving dogs down. Again, dog's coat is like a thermos. What do I mean? If you put ice cold beverage into a thermos, it stays pretty cold. If you put your hot coffee into a thermos, it stays pretty hot. The thermos, what it does, it keeps the temperature stable for whatever is in. It's going to keep it that way as long as it can. Now, same thing with the dog's coat. Let me add a healthy dog coat. So when you have those Arctic breeds with a thick double coat, that coat's a thermos. That coat is protecting them. It's an insulator. So it protects them from the heat when it's too hot, but it obviously protects them from the cold when it's too cold. So it keeps their body pretty stable. So I'm not a fan. Now, let's say that coat is sick, is diseased, is matted, there's skin problems. Then yes, you may have to shave them down. But again, when you shave a dog down, in general, you got to be really careful from the sun. A lot of white-skinned dogs can actually get sunburn and can get sun cancer. So it's not something just haphazardly do. And therefore, even when you do shave them, try not to shave like all the way down, like you're shaving for a surgery, because that worries me. You just got to be really careful. And if you do have to shave and you have to go really short or some parts of the body, use sunblock during the summer. Absolutely use a kid's 50 sunblock. That'll fine. Now, some dogs very sensitive to light beams and shadows. Should I allow my dog to chase or obsess over light beams? Well, first of all, cats are notorious for this. This is always what I say. If you have a cat that's like that and the cat's overweight and you want to get it to lose weight, get one of those little laser light things and play with it for 15 minutes every 2-3 times a day. That'll get them moving. You thought your cat couldn't jump? If you have a cat that likes chasing those light beams, it's great. I was in the kitchen and I had my watch on. And I just through an open window, all of a sudden my dog got up and just ran to this wall. I said, "What are you doing?" And it turns out I said the light was coming in, caught my watch, and it had that quick reflection. It is what it is. If they like to chase and obsess over it, you can. If it's bothering you, that it's bothering him, or you think it's bothering him, close the shade, whatever it is, whatever was causing that beam. It's interesting about dogs that are like that, cats that are like that. Once it stops, they stop. It's not like, and then they play with it while it's there, but they don't go crazy when it's not there. So that's what I would do if it's bugging, but it's good. It's good exercise. I worry about my dog not pooping enough. How often is normal? Well, it depends how full of, what your dog eats. So I would say 2 to 3 times a day is normal. 4 times a day could be normal. 6 times a day is excessive. Once a day is probably not enough. So it all depends on the dog. If your dog is acting fine and is a 2-a-day pooper, then that's good. If the dog is not acting fine or sitting and trying to poop and nothing's coming out, then maybe there's something going on. May need a stool softener. It really depends. What I tell people to do, and more so with cats and dogs, is that there is something called obstipation, where they're actually blocked, and you take an x-ray and you see the colon is as big as a horse's colon, and that's a problem. That dog or cat needs an enema, needs to be cleaned out. And then the question is, why did this happen? And then you have to do some investigation. And as I said, probably start treating with something, adding fiber to the diet. When we add a little bit of fiber, that actually helps stool consistency if there's diarrhea, if there's colitis. But if you add more fiber, if you overdo it, then you're going to have too soft stool, but that might help with their elimination. So speak to your veterinarian. There's no one norm. I've seen all variations. I know some dogs that are going 4 times a day, some going twice a day. As I said, you get to 1, that's too little. 6, 5, 6 is probably too much. But if those stools are totally normal and the dog wants to eat and it's fine, then don't worry about it. Just let them poop that often. Back to Eloise came a comment that if the dog is sore after the walks, I assume that's where it's coming from. What that answer is, using heating pads and ice, but you have to know what the cause is. If it's just soft tissue, I 100% agree. Do I think running dogs on cement is okay for the pads? Well, it all depends on the dog. And this is why I say when you are, especially more for people that have more of a difficult winter and they really take some time off of outdoor activity, I recommend if you had a dog that was a good runner and you used to be able to run a mile with them or more, and now all of a sudden you had a lazy winter, don't go out and start running a mile on the first day the sun comes out. Okay, you don't want to do that. So you want to actually hold the pads, all right? And you want to make sure that they start getting a little calloused. They have to get a little stronger. So start slowly, gradually increasing the walking. Now, if it's a very hot day and your dog usually is on asphalt, black asphalt it gets really hot. So if it's summertime and you're getting 90-degree weather, you got to really be careful of the asphalt. You do not want to run them on cement or asphalt for long periods. And again, make sure you have plenty of rest. And have them run on grass is better. Cement is better than asphalt. Asphalt is usually the worst, but understand that it gets pretty hot. And one other thing, a lot of areas that it gets really hot, like South Florida, Louisiana, Texas, Arizona, even though the sun goes down, it's still hot. So you got to be really careful. Those surfaces retain heat for many hours. So you may not want to, get them again until much later. So just keep that in mind. All right. Lastly, grain-free diet, cats harmful long-term. We don't know. That really depends on the animal itself. So I am not a fan of grain-free. Not that it's always harmful, because we don't know which dogs are going to possibly have this reaction to cardiomyopathy, which ones won't. And it may not be related to the grain-free at all. We don't know. It's just too coincidental. So anyway, I'm not a fan because there's no proof. There's no study that actually said grain is bad for dogs. As a matter of fact, dogs is a good source of protein. It's a good source of carbohydrate. They need it for energy. I don't know where this all started and why, but whatever it is, people are anthropomorphizing, started with gluten. Gluten is not a problem for dogs. Grain is not a problem for dogs. So don't always take your style, your preferences, and apply it to your pets, because they're not the same. And if you are thinking about it, do some homework, talk to your veterinarian, but don't just run. Okay, it's not a good idea. My dog doesn't like to go on walks. Once she gets past 2 houses, she's supposed to be back into my house. Well, maybe that's telling you something. Maybe she doesn't like the neighborhood. Maybe you should move. And I'm just kidding. Some dogs are like that. Some dogs use out to take care of their business. And once they take care of their business, they're done. And obviously much more comfortable at home. So if there are other ways you can get the dog to exercise, if dog loves running around in your backyard, that's fine, as long as they get the exercise. So it's something that you want to be aware of. But also, there may have been something that frightened your dog at some point, and that's why it doesn't want to go. So maybe try going a different direction. Maybe try getting in the car for a longer walk and just going to someplace else and see if that makes a difference. Is your dog more apt to walk 2 or 3 or 4 blocks? Then there is something around your house that freaked your dog out at some point. And dogs have good memories when it comes to stuff like that, especially negative experiences. So you might want to think about that just to try it. It's just a little test and see if the dog does better away from your home. So back to the limping dog. He has zoomies running up and down the stairs, and outside his limp is pronounced when he gets up from resting. Okay, yeah, that is totally normal. Now, when a dog can do all that stuff and then rests and the limp is more pronounced after resting, that is usually arthritis. So my hunch is, you've heard it with people, they warm out of their arthritis. Very stiff at first, but then they start moving and it gets all the juices flowing, the blood going, and the surfaces, the joint surfaces are starting to start gliding again, and the pain goes away. So I would, if it's the back legs, I'm thinking hip dysplasia. If you haven't already gotten a diagnosis, get a diagnosis, have x-rays taken, and then go from there. If it is arthritis, that would explain what's going on. Okay. My dog doesn't want to go on walks once she gets past. So, all right. Now, yeah, you like the cute kids in the background. It's great for you. But, and yeah, we have 3 or 4 of the 5 grandkids here right now. So that's a problem. It's not a problem. It's great. Anxiety. So, well, let me do this because I know we're running over. Mark, is it okay? Or I'll keep talking? Okay. So anxiety. There are a number of reasons. First of all, you try to find out why is anxiety? All right. Is it separation anxiety? Is it noises outside, even when you're home? What is causing the anxiety? I like to try calming agents that are more natural first. things with valerian, passion flower, chamomile, California poppy, hops, things like that are all really good. Melatonin, all are pretty good. And even CBD. So I would shoot for that first, just to see if all my meat is just a little calming. Next up was the products that are not really meant for calming, but they do a hell of a good job. Benadryl, diphenhydramine. Benadryl really, not just like with people, to give an antihistamine that doesn't cause drowsiness is not good because histamine doesn't play a major role in canine allergy. So I usually recommend Benadryl. Why? Not because of the antihistaminic effect, but because the calming effect, the drowsy effect it might have, that might help. Finally, if all that's not working, then we have to graduate to more of the drugs. Now, if it's something that is just occasional and there is a trigger that you know and you're expecting that trigger, like a car ride or people coming over the house for a party, then things like alprazolam, Xanax are good. Amitriptyline, Elavil. So some of these are fine for things like that, Atarax. But if it's something that is part of the dog's, neuroses, and it's there all the time, and it's just part of its personality is to be extremely anxious. Again, talk to your veterinarian, but then things like Prozac or Buspar might be the answer. So there's no one solution. It depends on the animal, and even animals that need a drug like a tricyclic antidepressant or an SSRI, these are the ones serotonin reuptake. So these are the things that might help, but dog might do well with one and not with others. So it's not an easy answer, but there are many things that you can try. And also, as Eloise says, sometimes this is a training thing. And if you can work with a trainer, if you haven't, you contact Eloise right there on the screen. This is one of the things she works with. Only when Bella, another dog, is out. So that could be. All right. So anyway, I think we've hit a lot of it. Thank you so much, all of you who joined me. Some new and old. Tell your friends that I'm here every Sunday morning, and I would love to have you just sign on. Free advice. Love to answer questions. Love to help you out, and you can always get a hold of me during the week as well. So good. All right. I think that's all we have time for. We're going to get my dog to calm her down during the fireworks. All right, now. So that's a great question. During the fireworks, then we're dealing with something. It's an event that you know is going to happen. So then it's, again, the short answer, that's, you know what, why don't you come on next week? We're going to talk about that. We're far away from fireworks, but for the real good solution, it's going to take several months to do it. So it's a really great question. The Band-Aid is the downers, is the tranquilizer, the acepromazine, Ativan, all those medications that work, that you can do, all the anxiety meds. Those are the ones that you could do if you need to, but there's a better way to do it. It takes a long time. And it's called desensitization and counter conditioning. Believe it or not, there are ways that when it comes to fireworks, you can get your dog to actually like the fireworks. And that's a great topic for next week. I'm going to put on my notes and we'll talk about that next week. So sign on next week. We're going to talk about how to desensitize and counter condition your dog to the loud sounds like thunder, like lightning, like fireworks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, that'll be a good subject for next week. All right. Have a great week, everybody. Stay safe out there here in Southern California. It's a beautiful day. And again, during the week, if you have any questions, you can always get a hold of me very easily, either here on Instagram, here on Pet Life Radio, Dr. Jeff at PetLifeRadio.com, Dr. Jeff at DrJeff.com, Jeff at AirVet.com. If you ever need help in a pinch, you have a big concern about your pet, go on, download AirVet. It's a great app. You'll be talking live to a veterinarian within 1 to 3 minutes. And also, I'm not the only, believe me, Pet Life Radio is the #1 network out there. And there are great shows all the time, 24/7. So you should be, if there's anything you want to about, if you have cats and you're into cats, there's some great shows just for cats. There are so many great, and a lot of veterinarians out there too. So Justine Lee is an emergency medicine doc. She also does Vet Girl online. So these are all speakers and hosts on Pet Life Radio. So think about doing that too, because it's a bundle of information. So anyway, thanks for joining me here on Instagram, on Pet Life Radio. And we will be here next week, same bat time, same bat channel. And again, have a great week, everybody. Over and out. Bye-bye.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.